customers that are really, really early in their kind of journey with surfing, and being able to build them something that's right for them, that kind of cuts through the marketing and the jargon and all the bullshit that comes with buying a surfboard, and just make them something that's right for them, that's going to help them progress, literally cuts years off their journey.
Hello and welcome to the UK Surf Show. We are your hosts. I'm Pete.
And I'm Leighton. On this episode, we speak to not one, not two, not three, but 5 shapers.
5 shapers. But before we get into this interview, don't forget you can get 15% off Northcore, anything you purchase at Northcore. So that is www.northcore-europe.com and use the promo code SurfShow15 and you'll get 15% off anything you buy from their store. That is for our listeners.
Only,
yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
So the guys that we went to see, we were there for a long time, weren't we? We were there for like 2 hours or something.
I don't know how long we were there for. We were, I don't know. I know we got an ooey burger afterwards. That was lovely.
Yeah. But I was more buzzing about seeing the shapers.
Oh, yeah.
But they were great. They were right on our, just excuse the pun, right on our wavelength.
Yeah, exactly, on our wavelength. And it was, it was like talking to mates, wasn't it? We just had a laugh straight away.
I honestly felt like I've known them for a while. Not like the first time we've met.
Yeah. So we had Dom from Origin Surf Co. We had Marty from Mackerel Surfboards.
We had Matt from Emperor Surfboards. We also had Duncan from Lyster Surfcraft and Noah from Vellamo Surf.
Yeah, they were all lovely guys, and
bit of a mixed bag. So some are doing
wood shaping,
timber boards, hollow timber boards. Some are doing timber boards with cork.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously guys working with foam, and they do the whole thing, don't they? Glass and everything.
Yeah, everything. But yeah, really nice. You got to have a go at shaping,
yeah, with a beautiful electric planer from the 1960s.
I don't know if he was more excited about the actual planer.
Yeah, I'm kind of into power tools because of my job, and this thing was a work of art.
Yeah, he's just done some really sleazy face looking at me about his power tools, and he's like too into his power tools.
Little bit of a dribble.
Yeah. There's, Anyway. Yeah, won't go there. But, this was a really fun interview. Really difficult. It was an audio nightmare because of...
For you?
Yeah, for me, not for you.
No, not for me. I just had a laugh.
Yeah, great. But... it was difficult to record, but it was really fun. I didn't have a mic, so I had to share a mic with Leighton, which made it quite interesting because it sort of filtered me from saying the stupid things I normally say.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just not have a mic.
Because we kind of said, well, this was like, I don't know, like a really, really good podcast we really enjoyed. So maybe it's because you didn't speak.
Might do. I might try that in future.
I actually think it's because of the guys that we were talking to, mind.
Might have been.
They were great. Loads of banter.
Should we just play the interview?
Yeah. Let's do that.
So I'm Duncan Lyster and founder of Lyster Surfcraft. I make wooden surfboards, and I'm basically trying to make wooden surfboards that weigh the same and perform the same as foam boards.
Cool.
Hi there, I'm Matt Andrews. I just started shaping wood last year. I've just done all sorts of jobs in woodwork and carpentry and really love the craft, and just basically taking that into the surfing kind of aspect of it.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Dom DeLallo. I own Bristol Surfboard Repairs and Origin Surf Co. And I spend about 90 hours a week building and repairing surfboards in Bristol.
Hey, I'm Marty from Mackerel Surfboards. I build foam boards. And I kind of specialise in some weird shapes and some more kind of retro design shapes.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Noah and I'm Vellamo Surf. I'm a cabinet maker by trade and I make hollow wooden surfboards.
Wow, cool. Right, so for my aspect of it, I'm a joiner, and so like you three guys are the ones I'll probably talk to the most. No disrespect to you guys, but I'm just super interested in this. I've got to make my own board one day. So, so how did it all come about? How are you all here?
We all we've all kind of collected together around Dom. Ultimately, I guess is the answer to that question. So we've all had fiberglass work done on our boards through one situation or another by Dom, and I guess we've all just connected through in that respect. So yeah, we have kind of like monthly beers at the moment, and
maybe weekly.
Weekly beers. So yeah, we kind of came together in that respect, and kind of started to put our heads together a bit, I guess, as more of a collective rather than operating independently. But yeah, all through Dom. Ultimately,
so Dom's the tribe leader.
We call him the Godfather.
Marty calls me Godfather, and he's the only person.
It's stuck.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it is.
It's quite a cool nickname, though. Isn't it? You can't be unhappy with Godfather.
I mean, it's not the worst thing I've been called. No.
Yeah. So, shaping in the UK, how many boards? We've often said a thing. We reckon you need 3 boards for the UK to surf the UK all year round. Would you agree with that, or would you say it's more, say it's less?
I mean, personally, I believe you need 8 to 12 boards.
And you have them all.
You can never have too many, really.
And if you find you need more, you should call Origin Surf Co. immediately. Please edit that out. No, so for me, I run 4 personal boards. I have kind of a high performance board for the 2 or 3 days a year that I can use it. At the other end, I run a really traditional longboard. I always have sort of a retro stubby thing and a mid-length as well.
Cool.
And the mid-length probably gets most of the work, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I get by mostly riding a mid-length. Most of my surfing career, I've just had one functional board at a time. But I'm thinking now probably at least 3. Something short and performance-y, something a bit fatter for the smaller days, and then ideally something for larger waves.
Cool.
It's the thing, isn't it? Once you start shaping, it sort of opens up the quiver a little bit. You start thinking, I want one of those, I want one of those. Yeah, I've always only had one board, but the moment you start making them, yeah, you want 5, you want 6. You can't actually get rid of any of them, really.
Well, there's no excuse not to have
No,
them,
you
really.
just start loving them.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. I've only ever had the money really for one board until I started shaping, and now it's definitely growing. I'd say 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I think like the UK's so different in terms of other spots that I've surfed that it can be super clean one day, it can be super blown out the next day and choppy, and then it'll be flat the next week, and then there'll be like ripple size waves. It's just I think how many boards can you fit in your house ultimately is my response to that, I think.
You're a very good salesman.
So can you talk us through? So if you talk us through your different processes of how, so all the boards, custom boards that you make.
I think everyone kind of has a slightly different approach to this. I mean, I can speak to my own.
Yeah. So if everyone wants to go through their own approach of how they do it, I mean, if you start here and then work your way around, yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So I've got basically 2 main shapes that I do, and that can be ordered just straight off the website. Basically, click through.
You can say the website.
Lystersurfcraft.co.uk. That's Lyster with a Y.
Shameless.
And, it's. But then also, I think everyone kind of, custom boards tend to go really well, and if you do custom boards, people always inquire about them, and I'm always open to work on new shapes and working with people and recreating boards they've surfed before, whatever they want. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think I'm quite at the same stage as Duncan yet. He's done a little bit more legwork in that kind of marketing department, but it's still very much kind of a hobby stage thing for me at the moment. But I'm just basically pushing the Instagram, so it's Emperor Surfboards. I'd like to be at the stage where I can offer kind of custom shapes, because that's the most fun, is working out a new shape with somebody or trying to find an ideal board for somebody or just making something really unique and beautiful, basically. Wood's a great kind of starting material for something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, so I mean, I've come from obviously a different place. No, I know, a very subtle twang. So I shaped my first board about 20 years ago, which is really depressing. It's really flown by. So the way I was kind of operating in Sydney, I was working kind of full time building boards for some large manufacturers, and then on the side I had a business which was just pure custom. So I had no templates. It was literally a completely consultative approach where I'd sit down with the surfer. They'd kind of have an idea what they want, and we build something from scratch. Here it's a bit different. I've found that often British surfers like to have a bit of guidance. The conversation sort of started out that way and then ended up being, well, what do you think I should have? So what I've done now, I've got a range of 6 models that I base the boards on, and then I have a stock range, but most of the boards that I make are custom, so kind of combining the two, being quite consultative and tweaking little things like rocker and concaves and fin position to suit the surfer, and and then obviously loads of custom glass and whatever they want, really.
Do you find that British surfers want different things or ask for guidance more because, certain waves around the world always perform the same as where you come out in the UK is different. You can be different half an hour to the next, Yeah,
totally. And just on that, actually, I had to majorly rethink a lot of my shapes to work here because it is completely different from other parts of the world, and it does vary a lot during the day as well. I think that's actually a really, really good point. I think one of the challenges here is that so many production boards that people kind of buy are really not designed to work here. They're designed to work at Chopu or Snapper Rocks or wherever, really. That's probably not Britain. So, as a result, there's so many people out there I see that really, really struggle on super high performance boards or production boards that really aren't designed to work here. So,
well, that's why you're the godfather then. Like I find that kind of mind blowing how you can come to somewhere else and just know, oh, that board's not going to work there. That's the only kind of experience we got that is, it needs to be a bigger board because you need more volume for that wave or whatever. But you're tweaking tiny things like rocker and things like that. That's, you've really got to know your stuff, haven't you, to be able to do that?
I mean, I never said it was successful tweaking. But yeah,
well, you are doing, was it 90 hours a week or whatever?
Yeah, I'm very busy. Yeah, it's. I think that's one of the great things about surfcraft design is that it properly is a lifetime pursuit. You never stop learning, never. And there's people I've worked with in Oz that have been shaping boards for 50 years that still learn something every single board. Wow. So it's awesome.
Yeah. What about you guys? What's your kind of process?
Super organic. So I'm super selfish. I tend to build something that I really want and or have seen and want to tweak certain things, and then through like surfing those a little bit and then deciding that I want to build something else completely different, selling those on, and then other people seeing the boards. And so one, for example, I sold one of my old shapes to somebody, and then their sister wanted a custom, so I did a custom for them. So for me it's just an organic process ultimately.
Sounds like the dream as well, really. You're just kind of making these beautiful things every day.
I'm at the luxury of having an alright paid job where I can spend some of my time doing what I love and just work during the day. So I'm at a huge luxury, I guess, definitely. In that sense.
I'd love to say that my process was organic as yours, but it's not, sadly. I mean, the material is very organic, but I think a lot of hollow wooden boards, they start in the computer. So I'll design everything in Shape 3D or BoardCAD, including the concaves, the rail shapes, pretty much everything, the rocker, the length, the width, everything, and then that will go kind of onto a template, and then you kind of start from the inside out. So it's such a different process to shaping from foam. So
you don't have a blank to start from, do you? You have to create the blank.
You just have air. Air and some wood.
Air and a tree.
So it's very, very different. I mean, at the moment, I'm trying to create a bit like Dom, actually, trying to create a range of boards, and a bit like Marty, selfishly, they're kind of designed for people a little bit like me, or surfers like me. I have done a few customs, and I've got a couple of orders on before Christmas, but yeah, so I'm happy to do customs, Vellamo surf. But I am building a range at the moment, which will hopefully be on sale next year. So yeah.
Wicked. Question then, between the two difference between the boards, I was talking to you earlier outside saying, like, once you've glassed it, that's it. You can't do anything else to it. With a wooden board, can you go back and change it, or is it the same? Is it the same process? Is it still the same?
You're not going to be able to change the shape of it drastically. Really, you've got such
like adjustments and stuff like that. Can they be made, or once it's glassed, that is the end of it? No matter what
really,
you use.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's kind of locked in.
I guess the only adjustment that you can make or you could make would be like fin configuration, or either like adding fins in or potentially taking fins out. But that would be the only time that I've seen things properly modified in that sense. So if you had like something with side bites, or you had a longboard and you wanted to add side bites, you could add side bites or do something like that.
So seeing you guys are kind of working together, and there's foam boards and timber boards, is there some kind of rivalry? Or
I'd love to say yes, but we just all like each other too much. So
sounded a little bit fake. That
It was really nice, like, getting together, because I think all of us have been in isolation for a little while, and we connected through Dom, but you're aware of these other Instagram accounts in the city, and you kind of, I think it's a little bit intimidating, really, like knowing that there's competition out there. But then when you actually meet up with someone face to face, you're just like, oh, hang on a minute. You end up realising you're all really similar, which is no surprise given you all do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just been a really nice group to get along with. And I don't think any of us really feels like there's kind of likely to be any poaching or anything like that going on. It's,
Matt obviously feels completely different.
I was just going to say that it's
Grab for the mic.
Yeah. Poach that one. Thank you very much. No, I was just saying that it's like really great that we all seem to be offering completely different things, even within the realm of wood or foam. Like, there's such drastically different products that we're kind of putting out there that there's no chance of stepping on toes anyway. But it's just so nice to have somebody else with, I don't know, loads of energy and loads of passion, and just to spur you on, because you always have that time where you think, oh, what am I doing this for, kind of thing. So it's really great just to have other people who have that drive, surrounding you, because it's definitely.
Well, and surfers generally, when they really get into it and they buy a board and they know a certain shaper, they stick with that shaper, don't they? So that your personality is in every board that you make.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit too much of it.
Yeah. But like when you go,
Well dodgy.
so dodgy, dude.
Yeah. Here you go. This board's got a little bit of me inside it. Oh yeah. You should call it DNA surfboards. You'd be well away. Yeah. Anyway, this is why I do the engineer stuff, and he talks more.
Because Pete's a bit of a child, so. You're totally throwing me off now. I was going somewhere with that, and then you started putting your DNA in it, and So each one of you has your own kind of style, and so surfers will fall in love with a certain shaper's style and stuff. So you guys have regulars coming back, and do you have regulars coming back by multiple boards?
Yeah, I've had a few guys come back and buy multiples.
How many have you sold to one person?
3 is the most.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
But I'm delivering his next one next week, so I'm expecting 3 weeks from now there'll be another order. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So as soon as somebody commissions a board, I know we were talking about it earlier, like the time. So how long does it generally take to?
So that's the big thing that I've been working on is at the moment it's no secret that wooden surfboards are quite drastically more expensive than foam boards. And so I'm kind of working on a process to try and make them as kind of reach as many people as possible. And so when I first started making boards, my first ever board was hundreds of hours to build. That was me and my dad. He's the cabinet maker I learned my skills from, sort of doing it over the uni holidays. And eventually shaped this thing, which is, not the best board in the world, but it's it's got it's got a lot of nostalgia. And I started making boards more regularly, and I got it down to sort of a week or two per boards. But at the moment, I'm kind of a day or two is what I've got it down to, and that's shaping it to the pre-glass stage. And then it gets dropped off with Dom,
which then in turn makes it cheaper for the customer because your hours
that's right. I mean the hours are by far the most expensive part for me. Just being able to fit in the time to make a board. I mean, maybe one day it'll be commercially viable. We'll see. But yeah, it's that's always been the big challenge, and I think I'm beginning to get somewhere now. Yeah. That's
really cool. What about yourself? I know we're going to get rivalry now for who can make the quickest board now. So.
Yeah. It's very similar. I mean, the ones that I've got to glassing stage so far are still sort of quite early days, but I've settled on my final process, and I think a lot of it is in the wood prep as well. Wood prep takes a whole lot of time. If I'm going to, like, for instance, be book matching everything, so you've got like a mirror line down the middle of your board, that's something that some people have kind of done away with. But it's stuff like that just ends up taking absolutely loads of time. But I think if I'm making, more than one board at a time, that you cut your times in half, you quarter them immediately. So it's that, and sort of just working out shapes and getting them from the computer into kind of the real world. So I tend to use like CNC, but it's a lot of manipulation on an actual computer beforehand, and that's time that I need to get down as well. Yeah.
So what you're saying is people need to buy 2 boards at the same time.
Oh yeah, I'd advise 3+.
What about The Godfather?
So for me it varies. I'm just ignoring the Godfather thing just to be quiet. It's going to move on.
It's going to stick.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I know which one as well. Yeah. So for me, I mean, obviously working with foam is a very different process, but I'm completely hand shaping, old school. So short boards will be as quick as kind of 4 hours shaping. Long boards, I have spent between 7 and 9 hours shaping long boards. It's a much more labor intensive process because there's just lots of very long curves you need to blend. And then glassing, varies as well from sort of 10 to 20 hours, depending on what you're doing per board. And to give you some context there, so that's hand shaping a foam board. If it's a production board that's come out of a CNC machine, that shaping process drops to about 25 minutes. So from, 4.5 hours at best down to 25 minutes. So like when people see a price discrepancy between a hand shaped board and a production board, that's why. There's a lot of extra work that goes in.
What is the hardest part of the whole process?
For me, well, it's difficult because, I mean, shaping is not an easy thing to do. As I said earlier, it's a proper lifetime thing, and you're constantly learning, constantly changing the way you do things, finding the best techniques. It's sort of the whole process actually is trying to create something that's perfect with imperfect processes and imperfect materials. So it's that's the weird dichotomy building boards. But I would say the kind of hardest bit to get right is actually the glass, not the shape. You can go really, really slow with the shape, and you can kind of, if you have a little fluff, you can fix it. If you mess up a glass job, that board is in the bin. That's it.
I just want to point out that when you said that, we all started nodding.
So there's a reason Dom's got a lot of work.
So have you go around? How many of you have fucked up the glassing?
Oh, like so many times. Yeah. The one, so you add a hardener to a resin mix. Mm-hmm. So it comes in 2 parts, and you add a hardener to a resin mix. And I remember getting to the final stage of doing this fish, and it had a gloss finish. So when you pour it on, it looks super nice. It looks like, there's like mirror gloss cakes. It just looks like fucking incredible. And then I walked out, and at this point in time, I was shaping out of my girlfriend's parents' shed in their garden, and like walked back in. So there's a time process. It's normally about 15 minutes, 20 minutes before it gels, and then you can go and pull the tape. So like walked back in the door, and like 20 minutes later, and I'd forgot to put the hardener on it. Oh, so like this fucking like last process on this board, and it looked amazing, and then everything was just fucking dripping off. And because I had some like some paint on it and stuff, and some logos and stuff. All of those had melted because it got super. It was just horrific, and had to just scrape it all off and just go back. Yeah.
Did you cry or not?
No, close to, close to. I haven't cried yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Yeah.
It's proper heartbreaking when stuff goes wrong like that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's proper heartbreaking.
I can imagine. Well, I make. I'm a joiner, so I'm making like windows and staircases and stuff, and that's hard enough. But like, it's not like what I was saying earlier. I make stuff for functionality. Really, you guys are making stuff for playing on. It's just so beautiful. Like, we're stood now in your shaping shack, and we're stood in front of this beautiful timber board, and I can't stop looking at the thing. So I'm going to ask you the question that every surfer listening to it would ask you when they get into a room with shapers. Can I have a board?
Sure.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for free.
Yeah. No.
So what does saying on that ridiculous comment? What's the normal So what would your costs be? So if I'm coming to you for a board, what would be the bottom end cost? I know it's going to be a varied question depending on what board. Entry level to this has taken me 9 years to make.
So like me. Personally,
just like your simple board.
So the cheapest board I have at the minute is a short board. They start at $550, and then the most you'd pay from me is about £1,300 for a long board with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, that's a good price, isn't it? Especially for custom. That's custom board.
You make an excellent point. I think it's a deal.
What about you guys?
Sadly for me, I'm starting at the kind of top end of DOM spectrum. So starting around 1100, and then up to about $2,000.
That's because of the timber.
Yeah, and just the time involved. So it's like as Matt was saying earlier, the timber prep is a process in itself. Mm-hmm. You've got all that, and then it probably takes, I don't know, like it takes me 3 days at the moment to build a board from start to finish. And then I've got the glassing on top.
Yeah, and like by comparison, I can shape 6 boards in that time, so it's completely fair that you're charging what you are.
Yeah,
I'd quite happily do a tenner off whatever Dom offers you.
He'll still be glassing it.
Yeah, I can guarantee there's going to be issues with the glass though.
So yours is £10 cheaper then?
That is a deal.
Yeah, Mackerel Surfboards, that's the guarantee that we offer.
What about you guys?
Oh, the difference would be cutting it out on a CNC as opposed to cutting out all the individual. Well, if you don't know about a hollow wooden surfboard, you've got sort of a skeleton inside, got sort of ribs and all of that lot, and you can cut those all out by hand, and that's a very long process. But if you've got a CNC machine, you got it on a computer, and it's like a repeatable process, then you can start a lot cheaper basically. So I'd probably, for one that is like a repetition board, it would probably be around sort of the 800 mark. But then, like Noah was saying, up to sort of $2,000. That's kind of the ballpark.
Yeah. Well, that's fair prices for something like a timber board, isn't it? So, what about yourself?
So again, like working on the time has been the big thing that's helped me out. So my basic shapes, the Explorer and the fish that I do, the sort of £700 mark. But then customs, obviously, depending on how much work goes into it, whether there's extra tech involved, like scanning previous boards or anything like that, whatever you want, every little bit adds a little bit extra on. So
your rails, so there's 2 boards out by the doors we come in. So your rails were cork.
That's right. So that was not a trivial thing to work out how to get working. I went through 3 boards in a row that actually, going back to the glassing mistakes, basically get them out in the water, first surf, and within half an hour you just notice it's feeling a little bit dead. You get out of the water and you've got 2 or 3 kilos of water in there. Oh, no. And because you get little pinholes, because the cork's so absorbent when you put the resin on, it just soaks straight into the cork and it dries out the glass. And I knew this was a problem on the first board, but I thought I'd cracked it on the second one by just putting a bit of resin on the rails first. But it took a bit more than that to actually get it working properly. But yeah, I mean, they work really nicely. They're good because they're lightweight. Cork's a great wood to use. It's the only wood I know of that you don't have to cut the tree down to use. You can harvest a cork tree sort of 10, 15 times in its life. And it's great stuff to work with. You can shape it just like foam with your standard kind of surfboard shaping tools. And works quite well.
Have you thought of doing a complete cork top? I've seen some boards have that now.
Yeah, so with cork tops, you need something under it to support it because the cork doesn't have any tensile strength. And so that does get quite important when you've got a supporting surface. So the rail is great because it's got a little bit of compression. So if you hit a cork rail hard with say someone surfs into you, it has quite a lot of give before it'll actually crack through the fiberglass. Whereas if you have it on the deck, because it has got that bit of give, you'll end up kind of putting your foot through it if you try and use it as structural material. So what you can do is have a cork layer over the top to make a sort of softer surface. So you've got a foam top kind of equivalent. It's not something I've done yet, but I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah. So we were mentioning earlier that you guys are in Bristol, for anybody who doesn't know it, listen to it. And Bristol now, because of the Bristol wave, has kind of been put on the world map, if you like, in surfing. So I was listening to a podcast today, and it was some guys in South America, I think, talking about the wave garden and stuff and the different types of wave machines are like that, and they mentioned Bristol. So as you guys are shapers in Bristol, have you noticed any kind of up in business maybe because of it? Because now Bristol's being talked about as a kind of surf location.
I'd say definitely the social media aspect. I've had definitely a higher rate of hits on that and inquiries through it. It hasn't sadly translated to sales yet, but I'm fingers crossed for that one.
Maybe you should do the £10 cheaper thing.
Yeah, I think it's a strange market to operate in, really, because obviously Don mentioned this huge Chinese market that's out there, and they're spitting boards out super cheap. And generally, if I go through all of my friends that surf, not one of them has a custom board. And I don't think that comes through a lack of people wanting them. I think it's more to do with a lack of awareness. So, like in Australia, I've never been to Australia, but I presume, surfing's huge out there, so there's lots of shapers out there, and it's always been a historic thing. And if you wanted a board back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you had to go and have it shaped. You couldn't not buy something that was hand shaped. It was impossible. And I think as in the UK, I guess the scene has developed more over the recent years. It's just become the norm that people go to those CNC shapes and they just buy from that market straight away. But there's so much more out there, and it means you don't have to have the same board as the guy next to you. You can have something that surfs completely differently. You can have something that suits your wave, your local wave. So yeah, like fingers crossed it will start going that way. But yeah, I think there just needs to be a bit more awareness. I think a lot of people just don't know that we're here, that we exist.
I think a lot of surfers as well, it's quite a big deal to get a custom made board. I know a friend of mine wants to get one. I can't remember what he said he wanted to get. It was something he's ridden before, and he wants that shape. But the amount of time he spent thinking about it and like checking it, he spent hours and hours like trawling across the internet looking for all these different things and what he might like and everything. So I think it's quite a big deal. So it is going to be one of those things where, even though you've got these customers and you've got the customers that are coming back for repairs and different things like that, it is something that is not going to be as frequent as just walking into a shop and going, that'll do, that, I can surf that. And as we were saying, with the waves changing so much, or where you're surfing, you could use something in one part of the country, which isn't necessarily going to work in another part of the country. Yeah,
definitely. I think there's like a general sense of kind of, you need to be at a certain level to have a custom board, or you need to be at a certain, a certain type of person. You need to be surfing every day. And it's just not the case, like Dom's boards, my boards, our boards start at, 500 quid upwards. I've seen people post on, like Bristol Surfers Group, that they're buying a new board and they're buying this like 7-foot Mao and it's costing them like 850 quid. And my response to, posts like that is just like, come speak to me, like speak to Dom and we'll build you a board like either at that price or around that price, and it's custom to you. And so it's, I do think it's, people need to overcome that perhaps like elitist element, or that part where they think it's beyond them, because it's not, and it's it's totally within people's reach ultimately.
It's completely accessible, I think. And I think there's another sort of aspect to this as well, is that as surfers, I mean, we're a tribe, right? But we're also a consumer group. And there are really big organisations out there that know that, and we're marketed to quite heavily. And we're fed kind of, XYZ technology that performs 25% better than a normal like all that kind of marketing garbage, and it just sort of sucks all the magic out of it. Like, there's something truly amazing that happens when someone with some passion spends time with their hands working material to make something for you to go out and have a great time on. That's where the magic in the boards comes from, in my opinion. And it's not sort of crazy expensive that people can't afford to do it. I think there's just, as Marty said, there's a lack of awareness that is sort of out there, and there are people doing that. And it would be amazing, I think, if people kind of jumped on that a bit more.
So I suppose it comes back to what you were saying earlier about, particularly in this country, people want to be walked through. Because the waves aren't as frequent as they are in other parts of the world. So maybe the surfers just aren't as knowledgeable in this country. And obviously you are, so they come to you as a bit of, like you said, guidance on what they actually want. And where, I suppose you would ask them where they're surfing, what are you normally surfing? And then, like you said, they'll get a board that's suited to them for a very similar price that they were going to pay anyway. So hopefully, like, people listening to this might actually think that first now. Like,
it gives you the opportunity to get things right first time, rather than spending 800 quid on a board that's come from China, that's CNC made, that is or may not be right for you. And, it just makes so much more sense. And it also gives you a really good insight into actual surfing. So when you sit down with a shaper, when you talk to a shaper and they ask you, how many fins do you want? And you're like, well, I don't know. Or like, how far up do you want the fins? How far up do you want the fins to be? Do you want it more drivey? Do you want it more loose? And then it kind of sparks all these questions in your mind in terms of, well, yeah, like, how do I want it to surf? Like, how do I want to surf it myself? So, yeah.
It's really cool that you guys know that as well. That you know how to tweak the board like that, because that's something I'd love to learn, like that kind of thing. So, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say. I think there's quite a lot of fear around it as well. When people are, I almost feel like it's the first time you have to get a tradie in to do something in your house. And you realise, hang on a minute, I don't know how to talk to a carpenter. And you're worried they're going to be using all this terminology that you're not familiar with, or like, you feel like, I think there's a fear that it's going to be like an exam. And I think actually you've heard these guys talking, and it's not like that at all. There's, you're going to be guided through the process, and you're going to get exactly the right amount of guidance for you, because it's a tailor-made process.
As you're saying the fear, then I was thinking, I think that thing is a lot of people that in this country don't know what they want, or they don't know what they're going to change to. So that fear is the main thing of, like, because if I was to come to you now and go, oh, I want a board, you go, what do you want? A big one with one fin. That would be about as far as I know. I don't know what the rock is going to do, what the difference is going to make. I haven't gone that far into it.
But the point
I know the size of my board, and I like to surf it.
The point is, though, that you don't need to know that, and you can't have that conversation with a marketing executive in a big company. You need to have that conversation with the bloke who's making the board, and trust that he knows what you need to be happy.
And so people need to get over the fear and kind of enjoy the process, I suppose, because if you're going to spend that kind of money, you may as well get your money's worth. And so it could be an experience. Like, there is not another board like this on the planet.
There's not, and that's the thing, and that's it's amazing. Like surfing a board that's built for you, it's like nothing else. And I mean, it's even better surfing a board that you built yourself. That's incredible.
Well, that's what I was going to touch on, basically, saying that's something that is basically where I want to end up in about a year's time, is running these workshops, because that's the real beauty that I've found from shaping so far, is sitting on something out beyond the waves that you've like made yourself. Is no feeling like that at all. So it's trying to kind of package that up and offer that to somebody with the guidance and everything else of what shape they can kind of achieve and what's going to be right for them, but having sort of the magic of, oh, I've made it myself, which is, you know, it's just such a good feeling, kind of dropping into a wave on something that you've spent hours on in the shaping bay, basically.
Well, I'm definitely going to come to a workshop of yours because, like, I have the skills to make it. I just don't have the knowledge to make it.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. I know he was going to say like something about knowledge or something, then wasn't he? So got no knowledge in anything. That's what he normally does. So yeah, he can't respond. This is great. So you about a year's time.
Yeah, that's when I kind of forecast I'll be better set up. But I mean, in about a month's time, I'm running a workshop with a few of my friends just to kind of, you know, tweak the processes, make sure we can get it done in a certain amount of time, make sure, you know, see what people enjoy doing in the workshop, see what doesn't actually bring you a whole lot of benefit, you know, just
And
kind of.
that's in Bristol as well.
And that's going to be in Bristol as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's with Emperor Surfboards.
So
Plug.
So
I'll
you say
I'll do
that,
you a
like,
tenner off whatever Emperor.
you say running workshops. Have you taken into account that? I mean, I've had people work with me before, and I'm trying to word this politely in PC, but they're not very good.
Yeah.
Like, so if you had, you know, what do you do on this case? What would you do where someone's going to come and do a workshop and build a board and they just cannot do it?
For sure. It's a worry as well if you have a larger group of people that you're going to try and guide through a similar process, basically, and try and give everybody something within their means within a similar time frame. I think that's why I need to take that year to kind of streamline the process.
I think there's a fair amount that you need to do for them. So these people aren't going to have machines to prep the timber. They're not going to have the knowledge of using, I don't know, Shape 3D on the computer.
Absolutely. They don't want a
and doing
board
all
that
of
looks
that,
like
so
our first boards, you know. So
Yeah.
you got to kind of
the first
help them through
process
it.
is guiding them through that and finding out what they want.
Absolutely. Get something
Yeah.
beautiful first time, that's like an awesome thing to be able to do.
So the difficult part of it, really, you guys will end up doing first. You know, like you said
it's
about
mostly the head scratching, you know, that's taken all the time to kind of get to the stage where we are now, where we can actually make a surfable product.
Yeah.
Because, it was hundreds of hours, like Duncan was saying, to get that first board, and it wasn't particularly pretty, you know. So it's that is the thing that you're really offering, is kind of all of that trial and error that you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to put anybody else through that, basically.
Well, that just shows what surfers are like. You know, a lot of people would do something once, it doesn't work, can't do it, throw it away. And you guys, not only did it fail once, but it sounds like it went wrong a couple of times, and you keep going and
you need
keep
to be a
going.
bit obsessive, I think.
Yeah, and then like you said, now your boards are down to like 12 or 13 hours, and that wouldn't have happened without like the passion for surfing.
Yeah, that's right.
And like the glassing process as well is going to be the same, isn't it? Like you said earlier, like your heart rate rises every time.
I've glassed thousands of boards, and my heart rate still jumps every time. Yeah, it's just you've got this finite period to make it work or not.
So you mentioned that we might be having a go at shaping a board. Is that
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I've got some lovely, really expensive blanks. They're very valuable.
They won't be worth anything after this.
But yeah, if you can have a go.
Right, if you want to tell us what you've got in front of you and the construction of it and what you've done so far.
Sure. So this is kind of like the midway point. So you've got an example of finished boards up here. So the kind of immaculate, bright white finish, super smooth. So it's been finished with a high grade sandpaper or screen. So super smooth. It then goes to this process whereby you have single layer of laminated resin on the bottom, and then 2 layers of laminated resin on the top. As a rule, you can stick tail patches in weak areas, or patches in the middle of the board, whereby you might have that's popular in longboards, where might be where you spend the most amount of your time. This stage, this is what's called a lap line. So the resin has been overlapped along the rail. That gives it a super hard rail, which means if you're dropping it or hitting it off other boards, it means it's protected to a degree.
we've got FCS2s in here. So the FCS2 plugs go in at the stage where it's been a finished shape. Longboard fin boxes go in on the lamb coat, just before the fill coat. So they go in at this process, the longboard fins. And then I've got another. This is going to be a Twinser, so I've got 2 FCS2s, and then I'm going to have a little Twinser box, so just a little single box that sits just ahead of these. And then from this process, Dom's done a lot of this work already, and he's taken down to an extent some of his overlaps on the glassing. He's done an amazing job. I've been a right pain in the arse and given him some super complex channels to work with, which I'm sure he hates me for, but on it yeah. But he's done an amazing job with it. It's super hard to stretch this fiberglass material around the channels, so he's done a sterling job there. From this process, we've done with the actual fabric, so the glass fabric, and then it goes to just a full resin process. So you'll see that there's lots of gaps and holes between the weave, and what we'll do is we'll mix up what's called a fill coat or a hot coat. That fills all of these gaps, and that makes it super smooth to a degree. That fill coat then generally on shorter boards is taken down with sandpaper to like a 400 grade sandpaper, and that's finished as ultimately it's like a matte finish, and that's the more traditional finish on a shorter board. With something like this that I want to kind of... It's a stinger fish shape. It's a super weird shape. So I want to kind of make it stand out and pop a bit more. I'll put a gloss finish on it. So that's another resin process on top of the hot coat process.
So you could stop at the matte finish if you wanted to, and that'd be it. So
yeah.
To get the high gloss finish, it's another process again.
Yeah, it's just a thinner coating of resin. Ultimately, it's the same stuff, but it's just a thinner, harder coating of resin, which is polished. So it goes from a 400 finish on a matte to like a 1200 finish. So like a wet and dry sandpaper finish, and then a polish after that as well, generally.
So this is your own board?
So this is one I've shaped, yeah. So I've shaped this.
For yourself?
Yeah. Do you remember at this beginning I said I was super selfish? So yeah, this is based on a shape from Ben Aper. So he was kind of like the pioneer in the 70s, 80s of these types of boards. It's called a stinger fish because it has like this like kind of cut-in point at the midway bottom half section, and then it has a fishtail in there. Traditionally, they were run with a single fin. So yeah, I've done something a bit weird. I'm sure it's been done before, but put twin fins on it, and then I'm going to make it into a Twinser, which has a little kind of fin ahead of the main twin fin, which ultimately should give it a bit more drive and hold in a wave. Does anybody else want to add to like what I've said, or?
No, I was just going to say about like finishes, because that's what you're saying about leaving it either matte or taking it up to a gloss. And like typically, because I'll be mostly shaping sort of long boards and kind of fun boards, mid-length stuff, you would go up to kind of a gloss, but it's kind of weight sensitive when you're shaping with wood. You want to basically give the board a similar feel to a foam board, and you can never quite reach that kind of the same weight that you would in a similar size board in foam. So I definitely tend to keep it to just kind of the hot coat, and it gives it such a nice finish. When it is just that matte finish, it looks much more natural, much more like a wooden project.
So you're keeping the glass in process to an absolute minimum. For
sure. And again, you don't need the two layers either, because you've got all that tensile strength in the wood on the top and the bottom layer. I want to kind of minimize glass to whatever degree I can. So I've been told that 2 ounce glass is kind of a minimum that Dom does anyway. So we're just going to basically play around with taking that layer thinner and thinner, and perhaps just going for a hot coat straight on the wood as a sealing coat.
So you mentioned you could almost like varnish it then as well. You mentioned earlier you could to just do like a painted finish, if you like. If you're willing to maintain
it. Is down to the surfer as well. If you were going to go purist from the kind of sustainability aspect and minimize the plastic, a varnish finish would be the best, like tung oil or something natural like that. Mm-hmm. But it's the maintenance that comes along with it that your average surfer who's looking for a custom board isn't willing to take on. The fact that you would, maybe a couple times a year have to strip back, or at least kind of, if you didn't want to add any weight, take that oil back to a very thin layer and kind of apply it yourself. It's a very labour intensive process. I'm sure as a joiner, oiling is a real pain in the ass. So
apprentice to do that.
Yeah, exactly. If everyone gets an apprentice, then I'm sure we'll end up with a very sustainable wooden board scene, to be honest.
So in that respect, if I tell you all what I did to my board, and then I want to see what your faces do, the fact that I spray painted it.
We're up for a bit of experimentation.
I'm about to paint a wooden board.
Yeah,
I think that might be classed as sacrilege, but I'm going to leave some of the wood finish. But I'm playing around with different.
You're going to paint it white, like surfboard white.
Yeah, just pure white the whole way through. I might add a little wood line for a stringer just to
smear that off.
I actually first got into shaping boards by finding like snap boards and things. I was living out in Australia for a year, and you just see like boards up at the top of the beach that had been broken in half and just left by the bins or something. And I had really no budget at the time, so I could just afford a little pot of resin, and that was about it. So I'd basically cut and shut boards together, and I had a couple of short boards that I did that way. So you put a bit of wood into the stringer to fix it back up. Oh, I know, yeah. but then you've got this horrible join that you've just like hacked together with your kitchen bread knife and like whatever tools and sandpaper you can find, and then a little can of spray paint over the top does wonders.
I've got an image of you. I'm sure you guys have seen the film Chasing Mavericks, when the kid gets that.
That was exactly what I did.
Literally. That is cut and shut. That's the technical term.
Yeah,
cut and shut. Right.
And if you're gentle with it, you can get a few more months out of a board like that. But you're going to be ready for it to go at some point.
I was going to say, this shaping sounds fucking easy.
Well, should we say how hard it is and give it a go? You need to get the whole thing sharpened.
It comes with a sharpening tool.
Right.
You never need to buy a new blade.
No. So they're not disposable like the plain ones I would use at work.
No, I mean, we have one of these. Hitachi.
Yeah. That's exactly the ones that I use.
Is it?
Yeah.
They're fine, but they're not a patch on this.
No.
These cut so beautifully. So and just even, I mean, the engineering for 1960s as well.
Yeah.
To go into a, I don't know what that's called even, but like a curved blade.
Yeah. No. I've never
Helix,
used
maybe.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in true 1960s style, there's no safety. So it's just the trigger.
Just on and off.
On and off. The depth, it's one of the things that makes this really good is the way the front shoe moves. Mm-hmm. So you can go a full throw in like a quarter turn.
Yeah.
So 0 is 0, you can go past 0. Mm-hmm. And it's notchless as well. And then, the full...
Oh, so you've got a bit of analog to the depth then?
Yeah, completely. So you can, if you're cutting rail bands, you can start real thin and then go thicker through the rail and then come
as
back
you move.
As you go. Yeah.
Takes some skill.
Yeah.
And what's that called?
This, it's a lever.
The name of the
It's a technical term. I can spell it for you.
The name of the tool.
Oh, right. Sorry. It's a Rockwell planer. Yeah, sorry.
That's where I was going. Literally just dropped everyone to the floor.
Right. So to describe the thing, and it's a beautiful chrome electric planer, but it does look like it's futuristic 1960s, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's their idea of the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you'd see this on the Jetsons.
Yeah, that's right. And it is it's almost like a mirror, isn't it? It's like
proper glossy. Yeah, I mean, I was so stoked when I got my hands on this. You just can't get them anymore.
Yeah,
and they shape so much nicer than modern tools. I can't even.
Well, the
Yeah.
blade is angled, like you say, it's angled and curved, isn't it? So like the cutting edge is not one wall of cut. It's
Right, it kind of slices. Yeah. But even just everything about it is awesome. It is a bit of a weight though.
yeah. So would you also plane the timber stringer with that one?
Yeah.
You don't like want
Not
to
fine
save it?
planing, but no, it's fine. I mean, it's part of the process. So
Right.
the good thing about this is that you can take off really a lot of foam if you go the full whack.
Yeah.
You can probably cut 3 or 4 times deeper with this than you could with the modern
And
planer.
that copes with that.
Yeah, it's just ripped straight through it. Just mows straight through. So what we might do is if I show you kind of an approach.
Yeah, definitely demonstrate.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to skin this blank, release the bottom side of it. So there's kind of, you can see it here, there's like a hard outer and then kind of softer foam inside.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is get rid of that outside layer.
You'll be so.
I'm just going to tidy up this stringer a little bit this end. Basically, what we're going to do, we're going to use the front shoe is going to go. We don't do this basically. So you want to have it almost almost perpendicular to the stringer, and you're cutting bands along length to length. Don't go back and forth. Just go one direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll just do a few passes. Sorry, I'll just tidy this up. Yeah, there. So we're going to do cuts at 1/16. Okay.
Right, so how shit was his shaping?
Honestly, he did a great job. It's a really difficult process, and I have to say, he took to it really well.
So I'm a future shaper, maybe. No, that was good. It was a good experience. Like, it's definitely harder than it looks. So you made it look really simple. Like the power tool you've got is just a work of art, and like I geek out about that a little bit just because of the trade I'm in. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But it is like you said, heavy and like difficult to use. And yeah, but yeah. Well, thanks very much. I'm glad I didn't mess it up. When we leave, you're going to go, Jesus Christ, look at the mess he's made of this thing.
That'll fill
No, not at all. I honestly believe, like, quite passionately, that every single surfer in the world should make a board at least once.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
It's one of those things, everyone knows how much they cost, no one knows what they're worth.
Yeah.
And there's so much that goes into every single one of them. So
yeah.
Would also mean there's a load of shit boards out there that we could probably make boards to fill their places.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
Well, honestly, guys, thanks for having us here. It's been really good. If you want to do one last plug for each one of you, because you're all in like the same place, but you all got your own little thing going on. So, hang on.
I've got an actual question that I just thought I didn't ask any of you. Where do you guys normally surf?
I'm from Cornwall originally, so I have to go back down there, to snap up the waves. Unfortunately, it's mostly down the way of Poleseth and around that kind of area, to be honest. I mean, that's just where I grew up, surf lifesaving and stuff like that, and it's where I go.
I'm skating. I've been skating a lot this summer. I haven't managed to get surfing too much this summer, unfortunately, but I'm a Wales boy. I like it out there. It's a bit more rough and people are a bit more scary, and it's all these golden blonde Cornwall Devon lads. It's
just lost you.
Yeah. They're a good bunch. I really like the Welsh, and I find the further west that you go, and I do harp on about this. I've definitely harped on to the boys about this before. The further west you go, that Pembrokeshire kind of area is just banging, because whatever, if you've got a westerly wind, you can get a beach or a cove or a bay that faces the right way, and then you've got you kind of that south facing beaches. It's just so many coves. There's so many harbours as well. So if it's really pumping and it's too hectic, then you can find some of the harbours like Tenby and stuff are really, really good. Wales is the one for me.
I often say West Wales is one of the best.
Yeah.
It's one of the
cracking.
There's points in West Wales. I really got to be careful when I start speaking about West Wales. There's points in West Wales where it's amazing. I've said before, like I've driven down a road and it's just barreling next to you as you're driving down the road.
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh my god, look at this.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to get to as well. I think it's the other thing. It's not hard from Bristol, but I guess you don't get a lot of the kind of southwest Devon lot that go there because
you've got it right on your doorstep.
Yeah,
haven't you?
exactly.
You know? That's the thing.
Yeah. So it's nice. It's a nice spot.
Yeah, I'm personally all over. I'm a little bit nomadic by nature, and I think one of the great joys of surfing is being able to go off and explore new places. So, I've been hitting anywhere with the bump in the water. I was actually out West Wales a few weeks ago. Had a cracking session at a great spot there that's reminded me a lot of home. Weirdly, the way the beach kind of worked was quite Australian. Which I loved, but
not because they were eating loads of pies. And
no, not that. But obviously Devon, Cornwall. There's just so many great spots to explore, and I think like a lot of surfers, I like to try and find a little lonely corner without too many people. So yeah.
I think mostly I've surfed in North Devon, but the last year or two, I've been really trying to branch out and get across to some spots that I haven't explored before. The next big trip's up to North Scotland in December, so I'll be investing in a new winter wetsuit for that. But it's trying to get out and find some of the less touched spots has been what's really been getting me firing with the surfing lately.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm all over West Wales. Yeah, I love that place. I'm with you, Marty. I mean, going all the way down right into Cornwall is incredible too. There's so many little coves too. But I do a lot of surfing with Dom. We pretty much. If he's surfing, I'm surfing. So
it's true. I can't shake it
off. I should have said that the other way around. If I'm surfing, he's surfing.
No, it's definitely the first way.
That's like me and this dick.
But we get kind of everywhere. But.
All right, brilliant, guys. So if you just want to run round through quickly, and then, as you say, just give yourselves a plug. Tell us how great you are. Tell us how great we are. Tell us how great everyone is.
Well, surrounded by all this talent, it's difficult to know where to start. I'm basically just saying, watch this space for Emperor Surfboards. At the moment, I'm basically just offering customs, but I really want to branch out into workshops. I'd like to make that sort of my bread and butter because it's sort of imparting that kind of experience to people. That's what I want to do with surfboards.
And that's on Instagram?
That's on Instagram, at Emperor Surfboards. And we're all collectively thinking about going sort of online together, making a bit of a website where we can kind of, as Bristol shapers, kind of show off our various kind
That'd
of
be awesome.
products.
Yeah. Let us know when you do that. And we'll
absolutely,
do what we
we'll
can
do
to help. So,
thanks, Matt. So Marty from Mackerel _surfboards on Instagram. The biggest thing I'd say, if you're interested, just come and have a chat. Like, no one's forceful, and we're not. I mean, I am a salesperson, but I'm not. I'm not. I do work in sales, but I'm here to chat surfing, and don't let it kind of be scary to come and have a chat to us and just have a look at some of the stuff that we do. Dom's got a load of stuff in here. He's got a load of example boards. I'm super happy to give out some of my boards that I've made. So if you want to come ride some stuff, test it out, go to the wave, test it out, then that's absolutely fine. And just remember, I do £10 off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
They're going to be made of cheese.
£10 less than
Oh, I'm going to put my prices up. So I'm Dom from Origin Surf Co. If you want to check out my stuff online, it's originsurfco.com. Also Bristol Surfboard Repairs. If you need something fixed up, I can help you out. I've got a little shop out here in Warmley with some demo boards here. If you fancy going for a surf and trying out what I do, you're welcome to use one of them. Also got a little range of sort of useful surf hardware for sale. If you ever find yourself without fins or a deck pad or wax or anything like that, I'm just down the road. So yeah,
Brilliant.
So yeah, Duncan from Lyster Surfcraft. You can find me at lystersurfcraft.co.uk. That's Lyster with a Y, and Instagram, of course. I make lightweight wooden surfboards, and I'm based in the heart of Bristol in Barton Hill. Same. I've got a range of demo boards people can try out, but you've got to get on it quick because I'm going to be in Australia start of next year. So I'm only around for the next 6 months or so.
Cool. So one to watch then when you're a Australian shaper.
Yeah, that's right. If you're out in Australia 2021 and onwards, then hit me up.
Right.
Man down. We're only just getting to know each other.
We've got space. If anyone's interested in joining the fraternity, then let us know.
And lastly, I'm Noah from Vellamo Surf, which is at Vellamo_surf on Instagram. I do have a website, but it's kind of in the building process. And if you want to know what Vellamo means, if you go to that website, you can find out. Get on there.
Yeah, God.
I've also got
now.
I've got two or three boards actually, which Dom's in the process of glassing, so they'll be ready for demos too, which will be on the website soon as well. So
thank you for inviting us down, guys. It's been brilliant. You're all great laugh, just like our mates that we have and stuff. So I can see there's a lot of banter that goes on in here, and it's just a really good vibe in here.
How have you, I guess, in speaking from an outsider point of view, how have you found like what we've been talking about today? Do you feel like it's something that you guys would invest in, or do you feel like it's something you'd look into now, or something you've never looked at before? Or?
I must admit, no, I haven't looked at ordering a custom board. It's always kind of like the dream. But like we said before, there's a bit of a stigma around it. I'm not, a good enough surfer to know exactly what I want. I don't have enough money. But now you guys have said, like with the price thing, that's like just a bit of a myth, really. But because of my background with the job I do, I think making a board would be the way that I'd love to go. I'd love to ride something I've made. I think that's where I will end up going. And then, the money I spend on the board would be the money I spend to make it. I might get Dom to glass it for me. It sounds like that's a nightmare. So.
Who wants to make me a longboard?
Right, we're not going to do a bidding war. Let's stop that now. Right, we're not race to the bottom.
Right.
You're gonna have
collab.
You're gonna have 5 longboards in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I really think I thought the same thing. I was saying there's like a stigma around around having a custom board made. I was saying to Dom earlier that you have that feel, especially in the UK, like as everything changes so much, and you don't know what you're going to need. You don't know if you don't think I think in the UK enough about surfing, because you see these places around the world of these perfect barrels and like people like like you were saying, tanned and perfectly body shapes and everything like that, and you think, well, I can't possibly know enough. I'm nowhere near that sort of standard. And you think in the UK it's not something that's, without sounding, I said to you earlier, it sounds like something like a rich, arrogant arsehole would do. That I think that's the stigma with it. Like, it's only these people that have those custom board made. Oh, I've got a custom board made, that sort of thing. But when you really start to look into it and look into the prices of it, and the things you can do, and it would make and it would just make sense. It just makes sense to get a custom board made than go and buy something off a shelf, which is yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth mentioning, like, I've had a heap of customers that are really, really early in their kind of journey with surfing, and being able to build them something that's right for them, that kind of cuts through the marketing and the jargon and all the bullshit that comes with buying a surfboard, and just make them something that's right for them, that's going to help them progress, literally cuts years off their journey. You know, so like it's not the case that you need to be a pro or 20 years into the sport to see the benefit from it. You can get that from day one. It's about making sure that you're on the right craft for you to make your experience the best that it can be.
I was listening to one of your podcasts yesterday, I think, actually, and I remember one of you saying the best thing you can do if you go back in time is to have a lesson. I never had lessons, but I probably would agree with that. And the second thing I would do is just speak to someone who could tell me what I should be riding. Because you don't.
We've all been there, and I think I've even heard you guys talk about it on the podcast of like, you know, you go out, you have a lesson, you start riding some whitewater, and then you're like, right, onto the fish, you know. What's the smallest size fish that I can get because it looks rad? But
that's why I keep building them.
But it's that advice, and again, if you want to come and you want to have a chat, like chat to Dom, chat to me, chat to any of the boys, and hit us up on Instagram and ask what we think, or like what we would suggest, because it's super important.
We'll do links to all of you individually and all of you as a collective, and I really like your little Shaping Shack pub next door, just awesome. So and you look like you're having a great time as well as like making these beautiful works of art. So if anybody ever comes down here, that you're just going to see all these lovely boards around and like real craftsmen working. So like really appreciate it, guys. Thanks very much.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers for that, guys. What a great evening.
Yeah, that was a fun evening. A hard evening. Well, for me, it was a hard evening.
Because of the audio thing with the amount of people.
But you were buzzing all the way home, and, you know...
I've been buzzing for 2 days after that. Yeah. It's just really nice to meet like lovely people, and that you just kind of click with, and loved every second of it.
Yeah, and it's definitely made me think that I want to get a custom surfboard. It's taken away that stigma that I've always had with it, of like the person who's got a custom surfboard is a bit arrogant, a bit whatever. It makes perfect sense to get a custom board made by a shaper who can talk to you and tell you or ask you, as Don put it to me, he's like, I'd ask you, what you want. What do you want to get out of surfing? How do you want to ride a wave? And then we'll make the board to that. So it's
almost like he's going to help you progress. So if you look at it that way, you're going to, this is how I surf, and he's right, this is the board you need to be able to be the best surfer you can with your ability, which is, I definitely need as much help as possible. So
well, like you asked me, what do you want? I was like, one fin and to ride the nose all the way into the beach. That's it. If I did that for the rest of my life, I'd be smiling continuously. Obviously, maybe catch a barrel or two, but that just I love nose riding. I just absolutely love it.
Well, if people are looking at custom boards, these are definitely the guys to go and check out, aren't they?
You got all the guys up there. We had an absolutely brilliant night. You've got Dom at Origin Surf Co on Instagram. You've got Marty at Mackerel Surfboards, and you've got Duncan at Lyster Surfcraft.
Yep, you also have Noah at Vellamo Surf, and you have Matt at Emperor Surfboards.
Yeah. So those guys, they're all on Instagram. We'll put links in the description, and it'll be on our Instagram page as well. So go and check them out while you're there. If you want to like and subscribe to any of our stuff, we'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's really helping.
Yeah. Well, talking of helping, someone else is helping now. I've
relinquished some power and let me have the login for Instagram.
Yeah. So when it all goes wrong now, you know to blame. Well, I know who to blame. No, it's just with everything, with editing and everything, it's all getting too much. So like it's me and Leighton both on the Instagram and the email now, and making him do stuff, making him work for you.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
It's all right.
I don't know what you've been complaining about. It's easy.
Next time, I'm going to have the mic and you can have the buttons, okay?
Yeah, I'll forget to press record or something.
But anyway, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and we'll see you all again soon.
Yeah, thanks very much.
See you
Cheers.
later.